meeting of the Camarillo City Council Sanitary District and Library Board to order on April 22nd, 2026. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Santangelo.
Here.
Vice Mayor Martinez Bravo.
Here.
Councilmember Kildee.
Here.
Please note that Councilmember Tremblay is absent. Mayor Tennyson.
Here, and let the record reflect that Councilmember Tremblay will be here shortly. With that, we will go to closed session, and Madam City Attorney, if you would
Yes.
make that announcement.
Thank you. And I just also want to clarify for the record that we did have the special meeting, so you're also opening the special meeting as well. And so on the special meeting, we have one closed session, which is conference with real property negotiator related to the property at 200 Flynn Road. In addition, on the regular closed session, we have three other items. The first one is existing litigation pursuant to 54956.9D1, which is the OPV Coalition versus Fox Canyon Groundwater Management. We have a second real property matter related to the property at 2222 Ventura Boulevard. And the last item is an anticipated litigation matter subject to Government Code Section 54956.9D2, one potential case, and if there's any reportable action, I will make that report.
Thank you, ma'am, and with that, we will recess to closed session. We'll reconvene the Camarillo City Council meeting, Camarillo Sanitary District and CLB for April 22nd, 2026. Let the record reflect that all council members are present. And I'm going to ask Councilmember Susan Santangelo to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. Hand over heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Councilmember Santangelo. And we will move on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, we will move forward. I'm going to call on Mandy, our Director of Library Services for the City of Camarillo, to talk about the Career Online High School graduates that we're going to honor this evening.
Thank you, Mayor Tennyson. Before I introduce the graduates, I want to give some background about this amazing program. Since July 2023, Camarillo Public Library has been an active participant in the Career Online High School program offered by the California State Library. Career Online High School enables California adults to earn a high school diploma free of charge through our Adult Literacy Center. The library has 13 active students in the program, and we are proud to announce 5 new graduates who have received career certificates in the fields of office management, manufacturing, commercial driving, and general career preparedness. And today we are fortunate to have 3 of our graduates here with us. I'm going to ask them to stand when I call your name. Elias Acuna recently received from Career Online High School, who focused his studies on introduction to manufacturing. Elias pursued a high school diploma because it would give him better opportunities with his job and will help him with his everyday life. He plans on going to university next, so thank you. Our second graduate, Lori Lang, focused her studies on commercial driving, and we're really proud of Lori. Already, she has taken some college courses and has earned college credits. Our third graduate, Cynthia Noriega, focused her studies on office management. She enrolled in Career Online High School so she can find better job opportunities. As she began to work toward her diploma, it motivated her to continue her education. She will soon earn her AA by fall 2027 with a focus on addictive disorders. We have 2 additional graduates that were not able to attend this presentation, but I would like to briefly announce who they are. Hi-Fi Shang focused her studies on general career preparedness. She is a new resident in Camarillo and pursued a high school diploma so that she can find employment. And Christina Lopez graduated with a focus on office management. She pursued this program because she wanted to apply for jobs with higher salaries and better benefits. In addition, she wanted to be a good role model for her family. We're just so proud of all of our students who have prioritized their education while also maintaining their full-time jobs as well as their busy family responsibilities. Most people who have enrolled in this program have heard of this through word of mouth. I encourage any adult who is interested in obtaining a high school diploma to come by the library's Adult Literacy Center and enroll. It takes about 11 months to complete the program. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you, Mayor David Tennyson, for the opportunity to speak about Career Online High School.
Thank you, Mandy, and I'm going to ask you and the 3 graduates present to meet me up in front of the city seal, right over here. Okay, I want you over there so I don't feel so short. Okay. Stand right here. All right. Now I feel better. I have this height issue with a daughter 2 inches taller than me and a brother like 18 inches taller than me, so now I feel good. Thank you for standing beside me. Number one, I am proud of your accomplishment. I know what education means. I know what it means to pursue it while you're working, raising a family. I went through a trajectory like that, and you should be proud of yourselves for your accomplishment. I'm glad our library offers this opportunity to just about anybody that wants it. Now I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to hand you each the mic, and the question is, what did you get from this program? How has it benefited from you? And you have about 12 seconds, and then I grab you off the mic.
Okay. Well, first of all, I
Say
want
your
to.
name.
My name is Lori Lang, and I'm a graduate this year. And I just appreciate the fact that we had this opportunity to get my diploma, and I thank you for that. And I feel great.
You should feel great. Elias. Elias, yeah. I said it, Elias. What has this meant to you, Elias?
It was important because it's helped me to be more improved with people. It helped me on my job to communicate with my supervisor and all the people around me. So it's really good.
Good. Congratulations. Your name?
First of all, my name is Cynthia, and I just want to thank the, Camarillo Library for giving me the opportunity to get my high school diploma. I just wanted to show my kids, it's never too late to pursue, what you want to do, and actually it's helping me going to college and finishing my. So thank you.
Okay, you hand them out, and let's get a picture. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please recognize the outstanding achievement of these three individuals, plus the two that couldn't come with us. Education is a lifelong journey, and they're proving that to us. Fellow council members, I'm going to start with Council Member Susan Santangelo.
Thank you. I just want to say congratulations. I know it takes a lot of hard work to go back to school and to finish these things off. So good for you. Congratulations, and thanks for taking opportunity that we have at the library.
Vice Mayor.
Congratulations, and thank you so much for taking this step forward. I know in many of what was mentioned, you talked about being a role model for your loved ones. And the reality is you're also being a role model for so many people in our community, people who are watching right now who are going to be motivated to be in your steps. So thank you for being that leader, and we really appreciate you. Thank you.
Mr. Kildee.
Just congratulations. It's going to be beneficial to you folks, not only economically, but I think emotionally and socially as well. And it's really important for all of you to talk this program up, because there's nothing like a graduate that has been in the program to talk about the benefits of this. And like you said, it is never too late for any kind of education. And I know when you work and when you're raising a family, how difficult that can be, but give yourselves a pat on the back. Job well done. Congratulations.
Mr. Tremblay.
Ditto to what all of my fellow colleagues have said, and especially Councilmember Santangelo. Congratulations and great work.
Mandy, how many graduate classes have you dealt with? Our second one. What are your impressions of the people you've seen come through this and what you hope from it?
I want to echo, I think Councilmember Kildee is right. I think I would love, no one, it seems like you can't do it. And so if you guys did it, and our last class did it, and I hope that next year we have another bigger, great graduation class. So please tell your friends, anyone in the audience, if you know someone who's looking to get their high school diploma, we could do it in under a year, and it's for free. So please come see us.
Thank you. Now open up your certificates, because we'll have a photo op. Get closer together like we like each other. Another round of applause for these people that have shown perseverance and tenacity. Congratulations.
Nice.
And next, unless the city clerk calls me out, we'll go to speakers on any item not on the agenda.
There are now 5 speakers requesting to speak. If you'd like to speak but haven't submitted your name, please see the clerk, staff, and in the foyer. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. The city council will receive general public comment for an initial period of 20 minutes. Speakers who sign up during the initial 20-minute public comment period but are not heard within that time will be given an opportunity to speak following the completion of action on all other agenda items. Your time will be displayed with the video on the displays. When your time is up, the microphone will be muted and we will move on to the next speaker. When I call your name, please come up to the podium and state your name. The first speaker is Spencer Ritchie, followed by Diane Winthrop.
Welcome, Spencer.
Hello. Hello. All right. Hi. I'm Spencer Ritchie. And the topic of my public comment today will be, once again, Shimi, the city's still quite appalling and disappointing treatment of, how ICE is treating Camarians and other people in Camarillo. I don't know what really there is more to say besides, I do not like that, the city is, it's still letting the VCSO, protect ICE vehicles and pick up its targets directly from our jails. I do not like that. Cortez Circle is, still a pit of horrors. And I also really do not like my taxes being used to keep funding the flock Alper cameras in our town, which, by the way, we've known for, weeks now that, no matter what we sign that promises that, what they capture stays within our state. In reality, all the flock Alper camera images taken here can be seen by the law enforcement agencies across the country, including ICE. So I'm just not happy about that. And so to that effect, here are the most recent numbers as of 11 o'clock a.m. on Monday, April 20th. So far, ICE has kidnapped 1,879 people from the entire 805 area code. So Ventura County, Santa Barbara County, San Luis Obispo County. 905 people from Ventura County and 476 people from Camarillo. So that's a lot of people that, city councils like yours who refuse to do anything meaningful whatsoever against the ICE plague are, just letting get, scooped up and sent who knows where by, masked thugs who, by the way, are not. Basically, the ruling was a judge ruled against that new law that mandates they show their identification. So do better, please. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Spencer.
Diane Winthrop, followed by Evan Traffickin.
Welcome, Diane.
My name is Diane Weintraub. I live in Camarillo Parks, and there's trees behind my house, behind the wall, And I've been asking them for a long time to please trim the trees. They're hitting my house.
Could you speak a little closer to the microphone?
sorry.
Yeah,
The-
you
the-
can bend it down. You don't have to
There's
tiptoe.
trees behind my house, and I'm asking the managers to please trim the trees, and they refuse to do it. I got pictures if you want to see them.
Well, we can't see him, but where do you live again?
I live in Camarillo Mobile Parks in that space 13.
Okay, well, we'll ask city staff to look into this.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Diane.
Evan Traficant, followed by Addie Fox.
Welcome, Evan.
Before we begin, I would like to thank the City Council for the opportunity to speak today, and on behalf of the Teen Civic Engagement Club, we are very appreciative for the City of Camarillo's acknowledgement of public opinion and receptiveness. My name is Evan Traficant. I'm a Rancho Campana sophomore, and I'm a current active member in the Teen Civic Engagement Club at the Camarillo Library. Recently, over the past few weeks, me and some other members have been discussing the idea of a youth advisory committee or youth council, which would be comprised of a potential mentor from the city government and a number of elected teen youth leaders who would be able to work with the city and also represent teens across Camarillo. For potential activities could include conducting surveys or finding out interests of teens and bringing those up to the council. I believe this would be a very effective way to give teens experience and leadership opportunities and also engage teens with the community more than ever. And thank you very much.
Thank you. I just have to point out real quick that I had an opportunity to appear before this group of young students, and I asked them to rate my presentation after about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes of dialogue. And only one person was courageous enough and honest enough to give me a 3 out of 5 because I talked too much about myself. So thanks for that, Evan. I've tried to learn from it. I appreciate that input. And I look forward to seeing you in the future. So please reach out to Mandy, and she works very closely with the rest of city staff. And obviously, that was one of the goals of this council 2 years ago. And I think it's come to fruition with bright, promising young people like you. So keep moving forward. Thank you for showing up tonight.
Thank you.
Addie, excuse me, Addie Fox, followed by Sunny Bignamy.
Welcome, Addie.
I cannot see this. Hold on.
I've
Good
got
evening,
glasses.
good evening, members of the council. Believe it or not, I'm also appearing on the behalf of the Teen Civic Engagement Club, and I am also proposing the idea of the Youth Advisory Committee. I know in days past there was also a Youth Advisory Committee, and many may remember what the committee accomplished. It gave young people a seat at the table, a real voice in the decisions that shaped the city. And the results spoke for themselves. The skate park for teens, the teens advocated for, didn't just create a place to ride. It created a place to belong. It gave our youth somewhere to go, something to do, and a sense of ownership over their community. But beyond tangible projects, the Youth Advisory Committee did something even more important. It introduced a generation of young people to civic life. It showed them that politics isn't something that happens to them. It's something they can participate in, shape, and lead. Since the committee was disbanded, that pipeline has gone quiet. We have a generation of young people, such as those who participate in the Teen Civic Engagement Club at the library, who are capable, passionate, and eager to contribute. And we are not giving them the opportunity to do so. I'm asking the city to change that. Let's bring our Youth Advisory Committee back. Let's invest in our youth the way we did in the past. Let's give the next generation the same chance to leave their mark on the city.
Thank you very much. Well said.
Sunny Bignamy.
What was the name, Sonny?
Yes.
Welcome, Sonny.
Hi, Mayor. How are you?
I'm well.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Good evening. So my name is Sunny Binyami.
I am a longtime former Camarillo resident. I've been here to see a lot of changes that the city has undergone, specifically its growth. I am now a real estate professional, and with that, I've had the opportunity to meet many people from, all walks of life, many backgrounds. I am here to show my support and to stand in solidarity for my request, along with many others, to please pass RSO, the Rent Stabilization Ordinance.
Sonny, I'm going to stop you now.
Okay.
Because this is for items not on the agenda, and that
Got it.
will be on the agenda shortly after this.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Madam Clerk,
There are no more speakers.
thank you very much. We will move on to the library activity updates by Mandy.
Good evening, Mayor David Tennyson, Library Trustees. I am honored to be here today in time for National Library Week, which is celebrated from April 19th to 25th. The theme this year is Find Your Joy, and at Camarillo Public Library, we find joy every day with our dedicated library staff members, our connection to library patrons, and the many services and programs that we offer. As you saw moments earlier, we celebrate Library Joy with our incredible career online high school graduates. And now with an accredited high school diploma in hand, their future is going to be brighter. I have another Library Joy announcement, which is our newly formed Teen Civic Engagement Club. Led by our teen librarian, Naomi Wolfrey, the Teen Civic Engagement Club was created last October, and they meet twice a month. The idea of the Teen Civic Engagement Club is to engage youth regarding issues that concern them and develop future leaders, which is outlined in the city's strategic plan and council goals and objectives. When we met with the teens last fall for a focus group, the teens identified a few goals for the club this year. And these goals include 1, learning about their local government, 2, meeting the mayor, and 3, attend and speak at a city council meeting so they can be involved. In 2026, the Teen Civic Engagement Club hosted 9 meetings, and we met with city staff leaders in various departments such as community relations, public works, economic development, and community development. These learning opportunities provided our Teen Civic Engagement Club with how their local government works. The Teen Civic Engagement Club had the opportunity to fulfill their second goal and meet with Mayor David Tennyson and Library Board President and Council Member Susan Santangelo. On March 31st, 7 teens used Dial-A-Ride to take a field trip from this library to city chambers here, and they met with city clerk staff. Staff provided a tour of City Hall and created a mock city agenda. And afterwards, teens had the opportunity to practice talking on a microphone to prepare teens for public comment at a future city council meeting. And they just did that. So the Teen Civic Engagement Club will continue until the end of June. And our next steps will be to plan for engagement next year. We've asked Assistant City Manager Carmen Nichols to meet with us next month for vision planning. And in addition, we invited HR Director Wendy Levy, who will share information about the city's internship program if they want to pursue that in college. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to address any questions.
Great.
Any questions from council? One quick question, Mandy.
Yes,
Is there anything else special that's gone on at the library in the last few weeks?
We had this guest speaker for Storytime last week. We actually had 2 special library Storytime readers, and I think they're going to be my backup. So yes, I think Mayor David Tennyson, Vice Mayor Dr. Martinez Bravo, you did an excellent job celebrating National Library Week and doing our story times. I'm going to call you if one of us gets sick, so be prepared.
All right.
We'll be there for you.
Sick or not sick, we'll be there.
Yeah, we'll be there for you. And anybody else in the audience that wants to take advantage of that, there is nothing more special than reading to a group of preschoolers and just a little bit beyond preschool to share the joy of reading and the joy of learning through reading and the joy of travel through reading. So I'd encourage you to look at the library website, and if there's opportunities for volunteerism, I'm sure Mandy would consider all of you people coming in and being guest readers for these preschoolers and a little bit older than preschoolers. Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you so much.
Normally, we don't encourage audience participation. We did it for our graduates, but if you could keep your applause or your negative comments quiet, that way everybody feels free to get up and speak when it's their turn. Next up, we have our report from Chandler Asset Management, Mr. Mark Uribe, our
Yes, thank you.
Finance Director.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Just for benefit of the public, we are currently, as the city, working on the budget for next fiscal year, beginning July 1. And the city's investment advisor, Chandler Asset Management, provides a quarterly economic update to the city's Finance Committee. And each year around this time, we ask Chandler to present an economic report to the full City Council to provide some context for the economic conditions that may impact the revenue and expenditure projections that are going into the city's budget development process. So now I'd like to introduce Jason Schmidt, Co-Chief Investment Officer with Chandler Asset Management, to present that economic report.
Good evening, everyone, and council and mayor. So we're going to talk a little bit about the economy today. Make sure that I can, and look at some of the highlights. So just if you look at the economy today, in 2025, GDP grew at 2.1%. If we look at 2026, the consensus is for similar growth at 2.2%. One of the big risks that's out there today is the conflict that's going on in the Middle East, which has essentially driven oil prices higher. I'll show you a little bit more information on that. And with that, there is an expectation that inflation also may move higher over that same period of time. With that in mind, thinking about interest rates in the Federal Reserve, the Federal Open Market Committee, or the FOMC, held rates steady at 3.5 to 3.75 at their March meeting. Chances are, throughout 2026, they're likely to hold them at that same level. There was an expectation potentially at the beginning of the year that they may actually move rates lower. That has since dissipated given some of the higher energy prices and what that may do to the overall economy. Looking at the labor market, definitely rebounded in March. We added 178,000 jobs. The unemployment rate is relatively low at 4.3%. So I'd say that the labor market today is pretty much holding steady. The big one that's an outlier out there is really inflation. And CPI stands for the Consumer Price Index. That's a broad measure of prices. And so for the month of March, it jumped 0.9%. And on a year-over-year basis, it's 3.3%. And so I would say that that is probably what the markets are focused on today and what most economists are focused on today relative to one of the risks there is that we will get higher levels of inflation. The other piece of that is looking at the other financial markets, not that the city would ever buy stocks, but looking at the S&P 500 as potentially a barometer of what's going on in the overall economy. And we're now seeing the S&P 500 hit a record high. This was only a few days ago. And also we continue to see strong corporate profits in the first quarter. This is looking at energy markets. So on the left-hand side is really looking at oil prices. I look at two sets of oil prices. One is Brent, so think of that as the global oil price. And then one is WTI, or West Texas Intermediate Crude. And what you can see there, look at both of those lines, that was actually trending downward until we had the conflict start in the Middle East. And now both of those numbers were, at this point in time, this is as of March 31st, above 100. We're seeing it kind of bounce around close to 100 today, $100 per barrel. But the one thing is that we don't necessarily consume oil. What do we consume? Gasoline, diesel, things like that. That's what the other graph is really showing. And so you can see the dashed line down there is really the gasoline price. And then you can see that green line there is actually the diesel price. Why do we put diesel in there? If you think about the trucks and things like that are really delivering the goods and services that we need, what do a lot of them burn? They're burning diesel fuel. So that's why that makes a very important component of that. This is what economists are looking at as far as looking at the overall inflation rate and what potentially could drive that higher. And of course, that has an impact on interest rates, and it also has impact on looking at what the Federal Reserve also may do with the federal funds rate. Looking at inflation, left-hand side is the CPI. So you can see the headline there is in the green. The dashed line there is in the core. What do I mean by core is economists a lot of times like to look at the inflation rate except or excluding food and energy. And so they'd like to look at the core rate. But what you can see is that they've diverged. That core rate, of course, excluding food and energy, is kept relatively flat there. And what you saw is that big jump that we had in the month of March because we had such a large increase in energy prices. On the other side, this is the Federal Reserve's preferred measure, which is the personal consumption expenditures. Again, the headline number is in the green, the dashed line is that of the core number, and that orange is that flat line. That's where the Federal Reserve's target is. Notice that they're above their target. And so that is probably going to prevent them from decreasing interest rates at least until later this year. Looking at the employment, so you can see here the non-farm payrolls. The green line there is the month over month, and then that dashed line is a 3-month moving average. It just shows you that employment is relatively strong right now. I would say that we have a pretty good employment market. The unemployment rate on the other side, the green line there is the one you should focus on. That is the headline unemployment rate, has been migrating up a little bit here more recently. And then we have the dashed line being the underemployment rate, which is essentially those folks that might be working part-time that would like to be working full-time. So I would say that the labor market is pretty normal right now. We haven't seen a whole lot of weakness there. And so that is definitely something to think about as the economy started off on very good footing before the conflict started. These are survey-based measures. These are the folks that are buying the nuts and bolts that are basically building our desks, building the goods, and also providing those services. Anything above 50 is an expanding sector. Anything below 50 is contracting. The green line there is manufacturing. So you can see that's above 50. And then you can also see that dashed line, which is the services side. You can also see that's above 50. So definitely what we've seen more recently is that the economy continues to roll on. It's basically being very resilient. We'll have to see kind of what happens as we make our way throughout the year. This is looking at GDP. This is looking at the last 4 quarters in 2025. So the table on the left-hand side there shows you those quarter-over-quarter changes. If you look at the graph, you can see the green line there are the quarter-over-quarter changes, and that maroon line there is that year-over-year change. Notice it's around that 2% mark is what we've been looking at. That's what the forecast is, but remember the forecast is definitely susceptible to change depending upon what's happening in the economy. Let's look at some of the local data. And so what we did here is we looked at a table, and in that table you can see there different factors. We have the United States, California, Ventura County, Riverside County, Orange County, and Los Angeles County, looking at some of those different numbers. Looking at population growth, one of the other things that we really looked at is looking at median household income and also looking at that 5-year average there. And so your median household income has been growing about 0.5% there. If you go below that, looking at your unemployment rate, here in Ventura County, 4.7%, definitely doing better than Riverside, and also from the state of California's perspective, Orange County really being one of those places that has had and continues to have a very low unemployment rate. Looking towards the bottom there, looking at CPI or consumer price indices, looking at the U.S. and California, and looking at Ventura County, 3.4%. That did increase on a year-over-year basis by 0.4%. And then finally, looking at the very bottom there, you can see the median home prices there. California, of course, is some of the highest home prices that we have. If you look at from the United States relative to just California in general, and also the other counties there, you definitely see a very high home price there. Notice that they've kind of leveled out there, and some of them are even at a negative level on a year-over-year basis. And also, they don't spend much time in the market these days, too. If you look at that, every number there is below 20 and also below the national average at the same time. This is looking at bond yields. Left-hand side, the dotted line there is the 2-year Treasury note. The dashed line is the 5-year, and that dark green line is the 10-year Treasury note. Notice if you go all the way to the right-hand side of that graph in that time series, that more recently interest rates have risen. That's because you have inflation expectation that's really finding its way into the market. What I will point out on the left-hand side is that green line. That is really looking at the U.S. Treasury curve, the yield curve. The bottom there are the terms. On the left-hand side are the yields. What I really want you to focus on is we have what we call a normally shaped yield curve today, where shorter-term rates are lower than longer-term rates all the way out the yield curve. This was somewhat surprising. We didn't think that we'd see this until later this year, but really some of those higher inflation expectations have driven some of the longer-term rates higher. And with that, that concludes my presentation. I can answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Jason. And I believe Mr. Kildee and Ms. Santangelo sit on the investment committees. So I will ask you if you have any questions for Jason.
I always look forward to you being here, and you do, in my opinion, you do a great job for our city. Can you just shed a little bit of light on our investments and how our investments are doing in today's economy?
They're doing exactly what they're expected to do. Remember, our primary tenets for your investment portfolio are safety, liquidity, and finally, return and yield. The investments are safe, they're liquid, and basically, if you needed to raise any cash out of that portfolio, you'd be able to do that by either letting securities mature off or potentially even selling those securities, and you would receive a very fair price for those securities. In fact, more recently, we've seen the portfolio actually go up. So when we looked at the portfolio more recently, you saw the total return, meaning that the value of the portfolio continues to go higher. A, it earns interest, and B, as we have interest rates relative at these levels, we actually purchase some investments at some much higher rate levels than there are today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you being here as always.
Councilmember Santangelo.
Jason, thank you so much for being here. I like sitting on the investment and finance committees because I really enjoy your presentations and
Thank
I
you.
always learn so much from you. So thank you for being here tonight so that you can share all your information with our community. We have so many people here tonight. It was perfect. But I don't have any questions for you. Just thank you.
Great.
No questions, but thank you as always.
Thank you.
No questions. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Jason.
Thank you very much.
Next, we will go on to council comments, and I'm going to exercise the mayor's prerogative. Normally, I go last, but this time I'm going to go first so that the vice mayor can't steal all of my thunder. But I'm going to introduce something that she will then steal my thunder from. Vice Mayor and I had an opportunity this morning to attend the National Crime Victims Week celebration that's hosted annually by the District Attorney's Office. A touching tribute to crime victims in Ventura County. Today especially touching for me because it impacted an early experience I had as a sheriff's deputy in Thousand Oaks. In 1980, a call of a deceased female victim in the north parking lot of Westlake High School. And that deceased female victim went known as Jane Doe. She was 5 months pregnant, Jane Doe, for 45 years. Eventually, through new technology, which didn't exist in 1980, they were able to identify DNA from a suspect. And the suspect ended up getting arrested and was tried for 2 Jane Doe homicides, one in Ventura County and one in Kern County, and was convicted on both counts, even with no known victim. We had a human body and a human body, but no names, and was sentenced to 2 sentences of life imprisonment without possibility of parole. The sad thing is, family members had no idea what happened to their loved ones. And eventually, maybe 2-3 months ago, through this new technology and the public DNA database, they were able to identify both victims. And 2 months ago, the sheriff of Ventura County and the district attorney had a press conference out at the Thousand Oaks Station, the East Valley Sheriff Station. And the family members, the siblings of our Jane Doe, were present for this. And so after 45 years, the siblings got closure. They knew what happened to their sister. They knew what happened to her, and the sad thing is, the brother of our victim very emotionally said, Mom wondered until the last day of her life, the last breath of her life, what happened to her little girl. And being a person of faith, I think he knows they were reunited before we knew her name, but we now know her name. So today, the Ventura County Sheriff's Office Cold Case Unit was honored by the district attorney for National Crime Victims Week celebration. The Ventura County prosecutors that prosecuted this case which was really unusual, having a case prosecuted from 2 counties without a known named victim. And what they looked at was trying to humanize these victims, even though nobody knew who they were. And then the eventual identification who these victims were so that their loved ones could finally have peace and bring them home to let them rest in peace. And I was especially touched by today's ceremony. It was impressive. They also granted an award for resiliency, and they had the family members, the surviving family members of our Jane Doe, and I'll let Vice Mayor Martita Martinez-Bravo say her name. She'll say it much better than me. But the family members were present today and got the Resiliency Award from the District Attorney's Office because they never lost hope. They always wondered, they always worried, but now they have closure. They know where their loved one is. Now, on a happier note, we also got the opportunity to present certificates of recognition on behalf of the City Council, and this is always a fun part of the job. We visited a senior facility, a residential home in Camarillo, and were able to honor Ruth and Phyllis. Now, I'm not sure if Phyllis deserved to be honored. She was only 87. She was a youngster. Ruth turns 100 years old on Saturday. And these 2 ladies were so touched that Vice Mayor Martinez-Bravo and I showed up, and they were just absolutely happy and brilliant and engaging. And I remember going home and telling my wife, and she said, "How were they?" And I said, "Well, the 100-year-old was really sharp and a lot younger than the 87-year-old. And I know what it feels like to be old because Vice Mayor always points out that her dad's younger than me. But I think the Vice Mayor has something to share on this today. So it's your turn, Martita.
Oh, thank you. Would you like me to just start with council communications? Sure. Okay. Thank you, Mayor. So April 2nd, I did attend the library story time for National Library Week, which we talked about, and engaging with toddlers and preschoolers was really fun. Your granddaughter was present at my event too. April 13th, I attended the Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness Committee meeting with Councilmember Kildee. And then April 13th, I also attended the West Ventura County Business Alliance Business Advocacy Committee. I provided a brief informational report on the city's rent stabilization ordinance, which is in process today, and invited any input from the Business Alliance, as well as we always welcome diverse perspectives. And then April 15th, I attended the Local Appointments and Intergovernmental Committee with Mayor Tennyson. And on April 16th, I attended the Sheriff Freihoff's breakfast. And as many of you may know, the County of Ventura is the safest, largest city in Ventura County. And that could not be possible without, of course, the work of our sheriffs and our entire law enforcement throughout the County of Ventura, but also to the trust that has been built. And there's always, of course, room for improvement, but that's also due to you, to every single one of you who participate in that. Another interesting data point that was mentioned from Sheriff Freihoff's breakfast was that there is this nonprofit group called the Disability Rights California. And what they go around and inspect, and here they inspected the jails. They checked the programming for incarcerated people, access to exercise and recreation, mental health care, medical care, discipline housing, and administrative separation housing. And they found the Ventura County jails to be substantially in compliance with all federal and state laws. So that was really good news to hear that, especially coming from that nonprofit. April 16th, I attended the Economic Development Collaborative meeting. And April 20th, I attended a traffic concerns community meeting at Camarillo High School with some constituents, residents who live around the high school, and also Oxnard Unified High School District staff, including Dr. McCoy, Principal Peck, Mr. Urias, and OUHSD trustee Dr. Maria Estrada, our Chief of Police, Eric Tennyson, and our Assistant City Manager, Carmen Nichols, were also there and participated. And so we listened to the concerns that were brought forward by the residents and discussed next steps and listened to some potential solutions. April 22nd, as mentioned, I attended the National Crime Victims Rights Week ceremony, and it was the event was put on by the District Attorney's Office from Eric Nazarenko in memory of Marisela Rocha Parga. And I did have the honor to share some time with the family members, with the sisters who were there. And one sister mentioned she was very young when this happened. Marisela had stepped out to buy a birthday cake, and she said she felt it in her gut that she wasn't going to come back, that something bad had really happened. And she said when she was gone, one of the things that she really missed about her was she missed her cariño. And cariño is not necessarily a word that we can translate, that directly translates, but it's a combination of care and love. And so she said she really, really missed that. And I offered my continued prayers for the family. As you can imagine, after 45 years, there is some peace that has been brought. At the same time, there's just still so much trauma and loss for this young woman in the family. On April 22nd, I attended the 100th birthday of Ruth, and then the 86th of Phyllis, and that was really fun. April 22nd, today also, I attended the second annual Fair Housing Forum. It's a fair housing equity forum put on by the City of Ventura and also by hosted by the Ventura County Coastal Association of Realtors. I couldn't stay there for the entire, it was like a half-day event. I couldn't stay there for the entire thing, but I was able to attend a couple of their sessions. And one important data point that I really learned, and that was, it was very interesting, was that 5 to 10 years ago, there was a real crisis around U.S. veterans who were experiencing homelessness. And there was a true concerted effort, especially here in the state of California, to attend to that need. And because of that, now veterans have not only a place to live and stay, but they have many options, which is really wonderful. But unfortunately, one of the increases that they have also seen is an increase in seniors who are experiencing homelessness. And so that was really concerning to hear. Right after the forum, I reached out to Deputy Jason Havelka, who leads our Project Hope team here in the city of Camarillo. And I explained what I had heard and wanted to get his feedback as to what he is seeing here in the city as well. And he said 100%. That's exactly the trend that we are seeing. So it's very concerning, and I'm hoping that we continue to look into solutions to attend to this. And that is actually all that I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Santangelo.
Thank you, Mayor. On April 11th, I attended the Boys and Girls Club fundraising gala. It was a great event. It's such an important organization for our community. I was really happy to take part of that and to see everybody there. On April 15th, I attended the policy committee. On April 14th, I had a meeting with Keith Freitas, who's the director of airports, also with Councilmember Tremblay. And April 16th, the CPA executive meeting. April 22nd, investment, that was earlier today, in the Investment and Finance Committee. Also earlier today, I had the CPA Finance Committee, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Tremblay.
Thanks, Mayor. As far as meetings attended, I also went to the Camarillo Boys and Girls Club dinner, which is a wonderful annual fundraising dinner. In fact, a young woman who was at the dinner spoke. She has been named, I believe it was Youth of the Region, the entire geographic region. She's from Camarillo, and she's really an outstanding young lady. So it was nice to see. On April 13th, the California Association of Sanitation Agencies, we have an education foundation. I had a meeting with that, and then a meeting with Metrolinx internal auditor. On April 14th, the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee with the mayor. On April 15th, the Policy Committee meeting with Councilmember Santangelo. I forgot about that meeting we had with Director Freitas of the county airports too, so thanks for reminding me, Susan. On April 16th, Sheriff Freihoff's, the Ventura County Sheriff's Foundation breakfast. On the 17th, the Finance Committee for CASA, and also the Liaison Committee with the Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District regarding the multi-use gymnasium project. On April 21, monthly meeting at Leisure Village. And on today, 2 meetings, one statewide board meeting for the California Association of Sanitation Agencies, and then until late this afternoon. In fact, I arrived at 4:47 p.m. I was late, but I was at the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Authority meeting for that board of directors. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Kildee.
Thank you, Mayor. Meetings attended. I also attended the April 11th Boys and Girls Club event. As was said, April 13th, the Public Safety and Emergency Prayers Committee. Also attended April 16th. Sheriff Freihoff's kind of state of the region, if you will. Today with Councilmember Santangelo, I attended the Investment and Finance Committee meeting. And on April 14th, I actually attended the economic state of the region, and there's an economist named Mark Schnepp who was there, and I've heard him for several years here, and it was put on by the Taxpayers Association, and he stated that, and I'm going to quote him here, that Camarillo is out hitting its weight. And what that means for a city of our size, that we're doing quite well, and he was very impressed with the industrial that we have and online, the commercial that we have, and hopefully that all of this will create some high-paying jobs. So not going unnoticed what this council and what previous councils have tried to do as far as the economy of our city here. So with that, I believe that's all I have tonight. Thank you for the time.
Evan, I'm not going to follow your advice. I'm going to talk a little bit too much more. I've had 5 meetings with constituents over the last 3.5 weeks, and a common topic that's been brought up has been the automatic license plate readers. And there's a misconception that the only agency in Ventura County that's doing the right thing is the Oxnard Police Department because they ended their contract with Flock. They think that Oxnard was the leading agency to set the tone for the rest of it. We have a commander that's our police chief that's a lot more humble than the mayor. They share the same last name, but they're separated by decades. Doesn't claim credit for it. One of the things I want people to understand is oftentimes during public comments on non-agendized items, we don't react or interact with the people speaking because the Brown Act requires us to pretty much keep our mouth shut unless it's an agendized item. So we had several meetings in a row where people talked about their concerns with the automatic license plate reader. It was through the efforts, and this is hard for me to stick up for him. It was through the efforts of Commander Eric Tennyson that the audits were done to find out if there were issues with all of our data being uploaded to the cloud and whether or not it was as secure as it should have been. He came to the city council twice in the last 2 years to get initial permission for us to fund the flock cameras and then follow up to get additional flock cameras. And he put his reputation on the line. And he listened to everybody that was coming here and said, you know what? My word's important to me. It's the way I was raised. I need to look into this. So he is the one that started the audit process that every other law enforcement agency in Ventura County then did on their own. He is the one that discovered the breach. He is the one that came up with the resolution and worked with the sheriff and the sheriff's executive staff to come up with how we're going to deal with flock and the data going forward. So what's happened, instead of yearly audits or every 6 months audits, the Sheriff's Department is auditing the data on flock every single day. And this started with our commander, and I think he deserves credit for it instead of consternation or condemnation for how he's handled this. I also, having had a long career in law enforcement, just want to share really quickly. Every one of you that drives a car in California is required to have a front license plate and a rear license plate. And when you're on a public street or in a parking lot open to the public, there is zero expectation of privacy. We could put 400 deputy sheriffs on the street just sitting there running every single license plate. That is not an infringement upon your constitutional rights. You're on a public right-of-way, a public roadway, and a parking lot open to the public. There is no expectation of privacy. The ALPRs, and I've done a lot of independent research on them, capture static data, period. And in the last 6 months, as a result of the ALPRs in Camarillo, we have had there's a lot of other examples I'm sure our commander could give. We have had 2 significant crimes, 2 homicides that in my day in law enforcement would probably still be investigated. 2 homicides in Camarillo that have been solved within hours because of automatic license plate readers, because people are driving on public roadways or in public parking lots open to the public. So I'll get off my soapbox. ALPRs, if used properly and audited like we are now doing, or like the Sheriff's Department and our local police department are doing, are a good and useful tool. I wish I had them when I was a young deputy in 1980, because Jane Doe may not have gone unidentified for 45 years, leaving her family members in that sad, depressive state of wondering whatever happened to her. So I've said my piece. Thank you very much. Now we will go on to the consent agenda. Any public? Yes,
Mayor,
ma'am.
Right before that, if I just may.
You may, I think.
Yes.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
No.
So it has come to my attention that all of the handicap parkings have been taken and that there are some people who parked very far away. So if you need any type of support or help, we can help get you there safely. I've informed our chief of police and he's aware and he can help with any of that. That'll be it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'm remiss. I missed one meeting along with Councilmember Tremblay. I did attend the ad hoc Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District meeting, for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kildee. Now, Madam Clerk, any public comments on the consent agenda?
There are no public comments.
Hearing no public comments, any questions from council? Seeing none, we will entertain a motion.
So
I
moved.
can move consent.
We have a motion and a second. City Clerk?
Councilmember Santangelo,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Councilmember Kildee,
Yes.
Councilmember Tremblay, Mayor Tennyson.
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will now move on to item T, the draft fiscal year 26-27 Community Development Block Grant Program Annual Action Plan. And I'm going to say Bradley, but I'm sure he's going to introduce our Director of Community Development and Planning.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Correct, I'm your Director of Community Development, Bradley Calvert. Each year, the City of Camarillo receives an allocation for the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for our Community Development Block Program. As part of that, we have to develop an action plan and how we are going to use that funding. So what I'd like to do is introduce Erin Lay. She's from Veronica Tam and Associates, and she's going to go over how we're going to utilize those funds this coming year.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Tennyson and City Council members. I'm with Veronica Tam and Associates. The item before you tonight is the approval of the 2026-2027 Annual Action Plan, which, as Bradley said, is required by the Department of Urban Development to receive Community Development Block Grant funds, outlines how those funds will be used in the upcoming year. In your packet is the action plan, and in your agenda report is a listing of how the funds are planned to be used. These activities include social service programs, which provide food services, emergency rental assistance, senior services, and homeless services. Housing-related programs include residential rehabilitation and acquisition of affordable housing. When the action plan was developed, HUD had not yet released the annual allocation numbers, so the action plan was built based on estimated numbers from last year's action plan. HUD has since announced the actual allocations, and the city will receive a little over $800 more than last year, which equals a 0.2% increase. The specific amounts in the action plan were revised for the contingency plan, which is an appendix to the action plan itself. That concludes my presentation. I am here for questions.
Questions from council? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, any public comments on this item?
No public comments.
Hearing none, council discussion.
I'll move the suggested item.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, City Clerk?
Councilmember Santangelo,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Councilmember Kildy,
Yes.
Councilmember Tremblay, Mayor Tennyson.
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you. Next, we will go on to item U, adoption of the Camarillo Oldtown Strategic Plan, and we have Mr. George Winkler, Economic and Business Development Manager.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I'm presenting the Camarillo Oldtown Strategic Plan. This plan is intended to serve as an aspirational framework for how the city may strengthen Old Town over time. It is meant to help organize priorities, clarify where future action may be appropriate, and position the city to respond more strategically as opportunities arise. So Old Town is the historic heart of Camarillo. It is a front door for residents, visitors, entrepreneurs, and community life. It calls for a place-based strategy because it does not function like a single-owner shopping center which manages tenant mix, marketing, maintenance, and reinvestment strategy. It is made up of many private parcels, but the public experience is still shaped in important ways by city-managed streets, sidewalks, lighting, landscaping, and parking. The city's 2018 Economic Development Strategic Plan already pointed toward revitalization, placemaking, hospitality, entertainment, and district identity. Community outreach to create this plan reinforced that direction through more than 700 survey responses, a town hall, direct stakeholder input, and mobile data analysis. Changes in the operating context, including AB 2097, make access, wayfinding, and long-term parking strategy more important than they were before. This slide helps to show why Old Town requires a coordinated framework. You can see there are multiple owner parcels along Ventura Boulevard, but it also contains public-facing assets and long-term opportunity sites that matter to Old Town's future. That includes the broader public-facing areas like Disdar Park, the former courthouse, the Pleasant Valley School District site, and those may shape long-term access and redevelopment opportunities. It also shows why AB 2097 matters here. Within a half mile of major transit, parking minimums are reduced, which makes coordinated access, wayfinding, and public parking strategy more important for Old Town over time. So what Council is considering tonight is not final approval of every future action. Rather, it is an aspirational framework that may guide future city decision-making and implementation. The plan is intended to help sequence near-term priorities and longer-term opportunities, and to connect actions to readiness, funding, pathways, triggers, and measures. At the same time, it does not automatically appropriate funds, approve acquisitions or procurement, or commit the city to carrying out every item exactly as written. Future actions would still return through the appropriate public process whenever council consideration is required. So the plan is organized around 4 strategic goals. The first is to strengthen public spaces and district maintenance so Old Town feels cared for, functional, and welcoming. The second is to increase economic energy and storefront activation by improving the business environment and protecting active frontage. The third is to build a clear identity and destination experience through arts, branding, programming, and activation. And the fourth is to organize for catalytic readiness and long-term delivery, especially around the PVSD site, courthouse coordination, and future district improvement tools. Together, these goals are intended to provide a structure for how Old Town may evolve in a more coordinated and intentional way over time. Goal 1 focuses on public conditions that shape day-to-day experience in Old Town. The actions here include a clear cleanliness standard for trash, grease, and visible upkeep, continued lighting maintenance and upgrades, stronger wayfinding and Park One's clarity so visitors can find parking and move through the district more easily, ongoing district maintenance and landscape stewardship, and better bike access. The idea here is to support steady, visible improvements that help Old Town feel more cared for, more usable, and more inviting over time. Goal 2 focuses on the conditions that can support a stronger business environment. The plan identifies a Ventura Boulevard frontage mix strategy to help keep prime storefronts active and customer-facing, a restaurant and small business readiness efforts to make it easier for the right tenants to open, the future possibility of timed frontage parking when broader redevelopment conditions support it, and a managed parklet framework. Taken together, these actions are intended to help Old Town function as a stronger commercial district over time by supporting the kinds of uses and conditions that contribute to walkability, customer activity, and district energy. Goal 3 focuses on making Old Town more recognizable, memorable, and active as a place. That includes a sound policy so Disdar Park and special events can operate more predictably, a public art framework, a cultural district work that helps organize arts identity and partnerships, decorative lighting opportunities, Disdar Park activation, and a broader branding and style guide strategy to create a more consistent Old Town identity. The goal is intended to support a unified district identity that feels more coherent and more visible over time, while also creating space for partnerships, programming, and broader community participation. Goal 4 focuses on larger opportunity sites and long-term readiness. For the PVSD site, the plan is intended to help the city stay organized and responsive around materials, due diligence, procurement readiness, and later council decision points as the surplus process advances. For the courthouse property, the plan supports coordination within a broader redevelopment and site planning framework, rather than treating it as a standalone long-term solution. And for the future PBID, the plan preserves that option as a possible tool for enhanced services and district support, but only if meaningful property owner support develops and a later engineering study is warranted. So this goal is really about preparing the city to respond thoughtfully and strategically to catalytic opportunities, not presuming immediate implementation. By the end of the plan period, success would ideally look like an Old Town that feels cleaner, brighter, and better maintained, where visitors can find their way and stay longer, where Ventura Boulevard supports a stronger mix of active uses, where Disdar Park has a more dependable rhythm of activity, and where Old Town has a clear identity and stronger long-term positioning. We can measure those things through mobility analytics, sales tax, and by whether Old Town increasingly feels more functional, more active, and better positioned for future opportunity. The recommendation tonight is to find the item exempt under CEQA, receive the strategic action plan, adopt it as an aspirational framework for future Old Town decision-making and implementation, and direct staff to return through the applicable public process as appropriate for future implementation actions that require council consideration or approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winkler. Questions from council? Seeing none on this side, Mr. Kildee.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment at the appropriate time.
All right, after public comments. Mr. Tremblay, you okay? All right. Madam Clerk, any public comments on this item?
There are 3 speakers. The first speaker is Spencer Ritchie, followed by Jeff Walker.
Welcome again, Spencer.
Hello, Mayor Tennyson.
Hi.
All right. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. Itchy. Okay, so once again, I'm Spencer Ritchie. And so my big concern about this Camarillo Old Town strategic action plan here is that I'm pretty sure I remember it was either going to like I don't know, one of the community like planning meetings or whatever about specifically this, or it was during one of the sessions of this year's Las Personas Community Academy that I was in this year, where one of the people involved with this actually outright told us that he used AI and pretty heavily in coming up with the plan for this. So that definitely makes me relieved that this is not the final plan, because AI looks all right at a first glance, but the big issue with AI is that it, unlike a human, it lacks critical thinking. It lacks the ability to creatively and critically utilize, the required education, training, etc., that is necessary to create things and implement things like the Camarillo Old Town Strategic Action Plan. Because basically, what an AI does, AIs do not think. AIs literally just scrape data from stuff actual humans made. And it basically predicts answers based on those patterns it picks up. So we do not want that to have a final say in something as major as the Camarillo Old Town Strategic Action Plan. So I really do hope that, you're having humans going through this before it actually gets implemented. And honestly, I when I was going through it earlier, I never picked up that, AI was used in making this plan. So that's just dishonest on the city's part. So yeah, I don't like AI for good reason. Old Town deserves better. All of Camarillo deserves better than, being planned by AI. And then also, what destination experience if, you're still allowing, ICE to kidnap people and stuff? Thank you.
Thank you, Spencer. Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Mayor Tennyson. As a Old Town business owner and resident and an advocate for Old Town for 20 years, thank you. This plan is great. I think it touches on about everything I probably have mentioned over the last 20 years, and I urge you to receive and adopt it tonight. A couple things that really stood out to me was, and Mr. Winkler mentioned it, the city has a role as a shopping center owner to maintain the common areas. And most tenants in a shopping center can go to their landlord and say, pave that parking lot, maintain that landscape. We don't have that ability in Old Town. We can tell all you, but obviously it goes through a process to make everything happen. That's a key role, and obviously it's a public-private partnership to make that happen, and I look forward to participating in that any way I can. The report mentions the importance and the emergence of the nighttime economy. We have a pretty strong daytime economy down there. The nighttime economy is emerging, and there's things that we need down there like lighting and safe passages and nice walkways down there to help that happen. The PBID, I was a part of organizing that the first time we tried it here. I hope we have the support of the council to get that through. I think we can hit that 30% mark of support to get the engineering study done. Look forward to getting that process started. It checks so many economic development boxes. It's the revitalization of a business district. It's placemaking. It's local business vitality. It's tourism. It's events. It's visible stewardship of the district. And I like the approach. It's get the basics right and then show visible progress and then take small wins. You know, one thing that we've done in Oldtown, we created the Camarillo Heritage Walk, and I encourage you to go to CamarilloHeritageWalk.org to see what that is. That wasn't easy. That we created a website, we created stickers, and we put them on the sidewalk for Heritage Days. And it still gets, we have QR codes and we still get hits on that. And we can track it. We can see how many people scan a QR code to see, what information is provided for each stop. So really good there. Small wins are important. There are some challenges. I love the parklet program. That can't be obviously expanded through Oldtown. My building is going to be 110 years old in June. And for 90 years, it had front-end parking. For the last 20, it hasn't, because we wanted to increase traffic input through that area. So, hopefully we can find an equitable means to address that. But I think that this is well done, and thanks for the hard work of the staff to put that together, and please accept it and implement it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last speaker is Andy Conley.
Mr. Conley.
Hello, Mayor Tennyson, fellow city council members. Thank you so much to the city staff for putting this really comprehensive plan together and doing it in coordination with the members here of the city of Camarillo, where, as mentioned during this presentation, just really taking the time to send out the surveys, having town hall meetings, really taking a lot of feedback, and it's really evident that all that was put together thoughtfully between the consultants that were hired and the city staff. So I want to really shout out and just thank you for the amount of time that was put into this and a lot of thought that was put into this. Because Oldtown is unique. Oldtown is a jewel here in Camarillo. And it is unique as well with having the multiple owners and just the way that it's managed. And so it really does need to have that intentionality behind it. And so this plan does provide those guiding principles that will help with the future of Oldtown. This plan will benefit the residents of Camarillo, the visitors to Camarillo, as well as students down at Cal State Channel Islands. And that will really help make this an attractive spot to come and to learn and to be part of this community. So as the Chamber of Commerce here for Camarillo, Oxnard, and Port Hueneme, we are always in favor of plans which will help with the economic vitality of our community while keeping what makes it special or even enhancing it. And we're also willing and able to help come alongside and support where needed. And this is including helping with education or outreach with the PBID and what that would mean for the business owners and the property owners in Oldtown. So for all those reasons that I've listed, we as the Chamber of Commerce are overwhelmingly in support of this plan, and we respectfully urge you to adopt this plan as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Conley.
There are no
Madam
more
Clerk,
speakers.
that's it? Okay, council discussion, and I believe Mr. Kildee had a comment.
Just a comment. We started working on this about 25 years ago. And George, I have a suggestion to get some pictures about before and where we are now. And we can't really get a picture where we hope to go too much. But I think it'd be really, a picture sometimes tells 1,000 different stories. And I think it'd be kind of neat. The suggestion is to put where we were back in the 90s and where we are today. I think you'll find it to be startling. I certainly did.
Council comments. Councilmember Santangelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, too, think that this is a really well-done plan. I spent a lot of time reading it, and I appreciate all of the work that's gone into it. I think it's comprehensive. I'm really pleased that it took multiple stakeholder inputs to help develop it. It wasn't something that city staff just cranked out. This was really done with input. It's forward-thinking and thoughtful, and I think it's really open to future opportunities in terms of a possible PBID that's been discussed, in terms of what's happening with the PVSD property. So I think it's a really well-done plan, and I'm really happy to support it tonight. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. So ditto and ditto too was also what was also said by Business Alliance, by Mr. Walker, by the letter that we got from Visit Camarillo. This is really an exciting time, and I know there's still a lot of work to be done, but one of the things that I think we do really well, and this is someone who is fairly new to City Council, is that we have a plan for everything. And so having this plan is definitely the first step, and I'm more than happy to support it. It's definitely going to be a revitalization for all our businesses. It's so important to support local, and there are two places where you'll typically find me. It's either Oldtown or the Camarillo outlets. So love my town and love going there. Happy to support it.
Thank you. Mr. Tremblay.
There we go. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. It's an excellent plan. It was prepared in a transparent public process through workshops. I'm very supportive of its adoption. We're on a roll, I think, particularly given now the opening of Disdar Park and that project, and this is a natural to go along with it. It's well done, George. Thank you, and thank you to everybody who was involved in its preparation and all the members of the public who participated in the workshops. So I think we're ready to go.
And being a person of few words, I will just say ditto, 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 and ditto. Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Santangelo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martinez Bravo?
Yes.
Councilmember Kildy?
Yes.
Councilmember Tremblay?
Yes.
Mayor Tennyson?
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
Thank you. We are going to now, before the next item, and I thank you for your patience, take about a 10-minute recess for the benefit of council members that may have to take a quick break. We will come back as soon as we can. We'll be right back. keep our public on time. We are back in session. Thank you for allowing us a quick break for whatever we needed a quick break for. We are now going to move on to what I'm certain just about everybody's here for, and that's item V, the mobile home land rent stabilization ordinance. And James Fowler, our manager of housing, is going to lead us off. Go ahead, James.
Thank you so much. To give a little bit of background here, residents began sharing their concerns most recently in March of 2025. Thereafter, in May, the council established an ad hoc committee to consider the issue. Moving on to 2026 and March 25th, the council requested the ad hoc committee kind of revise the ordinance further when it was last looked at, and then the ad hoc committee did so at the April 8th meeting. And finally, the urgency ordinance expired April 20th of 2026. So to just go through the revisions to the ordinance versus what was considered last time, vacancy control was increased from a maximum of 6% to 8%, and a key point, upon re-rental of an existing mobile home to a new tenant. So if a new coach was moved into the park, that would not apply and it could go to market rate. Additionally, there would not be any sort of vacancy adjustment, so no rent increase for transfers to certain immediate family members as defined. And there was some inclusion of initial anniversary date language for that first year to prevent issues related to if kind of the rolling nature of rent increases as they stand right now, kind of to give allowance to get everyone on the same date for future rent increases. So this is a graph showing kind of a comparison of what different, I'm sorry, it's a little hard to see up there, but different vacancy controls would look like. So that blue line, the top line, is a 10% scenario. So if at 3 years in or 4 years in, someone moved out and there was a 10% adjustment, what would it look like later on in 2036? Similarly, 8% is the orange line, 6% is the gray line. And then the yellow is the baseline if someone didn't move in that time and it was just the CPI, if that was the only rent increases, that's what it would look like. And that's an assumption of 3.47%, which has kind of been the historical average for the last 10 years. So in looking at those, the three sort of move-out scenarios, it's about a $60 difference for every 2% difference, if that makes sense. So between the 10, the 8, and the 6, at that final mark looked at, it's about a $60 difference over 7 years. Important to note at the committee, so last time the council had asked us to consider the City of Thousand Oaks ordinance, especially as it relates to vacancy control. Thousand Oaks uses the 10% number, and so that was what was presented at committee. The committee, after discussion and in considering kind of the difference in rents between Thousand Oaks and Camarillo, did think the 8% number was appropriate. It was still higher than the 6% number that was considered last time, but still provided some more protection to the residents versus the 10% number. Staff's recommendation is to find the ordinance exempt from CEQA and to introduce the ordinance or take other actions related to the ordinance. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, James. Questions from council? Mr. Tremblay, Mr. Kildee, question? No questions. Madam Clerk, public comments.
There are 17 speakers. The first speaker is Suzette Marican, followed by Laura Rivera.
And before you all speak, you're entitled to your 3 minutes, but if previous speakers have said what you want to say, practice what we do as a council, or we'd still be on the last agenda item and just say ditto, I agree with them. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good afternoon, good evening, Mayor and council members. I've been here, my name is Suzette Marroquin, I live in Lamplighter, Camarillo community. And I'm here tonight because many of us here know that this ordinance is not about politics, it's survival. People often hear the words mobile home and then they think that we're just renters, but as you know, we're homeowners. Some of us are still paying the houses, so there's a mortgage on the houses, and some of us are blessed that we were able to buy the homes, but we did so by putting our life savings. In other cases, it's the retirements of our family members. We are taxpayers. We maintain our homes, and we represent here 400 plus investors in this community. Because in each of the homes, there's not only one person that is paying taxes and it has invested in these houses, but it's basically families, complete families, different generations going into investing in these homes. But at the same time, we are homeowners, but we're not landowners. So this gets us in a very vulnerable position. Unlike any traditional renter, we can't simply pack up our, things and go because the rent becomes unaffordable. Moving a manufactured home is very costly, tens of thousands to be able to do so. And if it can even move, can be moved depending on the state of the house. And that leaves us in a twilight zone, that I call it, which gets us trapped into a situation where we either pay the rent on the demands of the owners, or we risk losing our homes that we have worked all our lives to get. And that is happening right now, and it's something that Vice Mayor Martita Bravo mentioned regarding the seniors and homelessness. And that's just one part of the equation. But I urge you to please take action in this ordinance, to please pass it today. We need your help. We are at risk, and we are just here asking for help here from you that are the ones that are able to do something for the community members here in Camarillo that we need you. And please help us to pass it today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Rivera, followed by Melina Marinant.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Laura Rivera. I'm speaking on behalf of IPG. I'm the Vice President for Camarillo and Lamplighter. We respectfully urge the city to reject the proposed rent control ordinance and instead allow us to continue honoring the long-term lease agreements already in place. These leases are benefiting residents today. Approximately 71% of Camarillo Estates residents and 91% of Lamplighter Camarillo residents have chosen long-term leases that provide clear, predictable rent increases over time. The structure offers residents certainty and transparency while allowing the community to remain financially stable and well-maintained. We believe this approach represents a balanced solution, one that protects residents from unexpected increases while ensuring the ongoing viability and quality of the parks. If the city does decide to move forward with a rent control ordinance, we strongly encourage the inclusion of full vacancy decontrol. This is a widely adopted policy in other jurisdictions and essentially is maintaining the long-term financial health of the community. It allows for reasonable rent adjustments upon the sale of a mobile home, helping ensure that the property can continue to be properly operated and maintained. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Melina Marinant, followed by Chris Hill.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Melina Miramonte. I'm the Regional Manager for Investment Property Group. I also oversee Camarillo and Lamplighter. Ditto with what Ms. Rivera said, the structure has proven to be balanced and effective. It supports housing stability while also allowing us to meet the rising costs associated with maintaining the property, infrastructure, and services expected by residents. We believe it is important to preserve systems that are already working well. It provides transparency in regards to the long-term leases so residents are able to know and have the forthcoming information regarding what those increases are going to be. So we do believe that it is important to continue with something that is already working, and we do appreciate and thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Chris Hill, followed by Spencer Ritchie.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Chris Hill. I'm the Area Manager for Lamplighter Camarillo, Camarillo Mobile Estates, and for Investment Property Group. As the Community Manager for Lamplighter Camarillo, I've been there for 8 years. We represent 45% of the 497 homes that this rent stabilization ordinance is going to be affected. Of those 45%, 91% of my residents are on long-term leases. I don't know that they realize this, but our long-term leases provide protection from them that is better than your rent stabilization ordinances. Our rent increases are clearly stated by CPI-based rent increases. They protect our residents from more than one rent increase annually and provide protection from capital improvement, property tax, and insurance pass-throughs, which this ordinance does not do. From an operational standpoint, the agreements also allow the park to maintain its net operating income, ensuring that we can continue to properly manage and maintain the community. This includes upkeep, infrastructure, and overall quality of living conditions. Lamplighter Camarillo is a strong example of how structured long-term agreements can successfully balance the needs of the residents with the responsibilities of property management. We encourage thoughtful consideration of how existing successful frameworks like this can continue to serve the community effectively, and how passing this ordinance would basically reverse all of the benefits of the long-term leases already in place. To reiterate, 45% of the homes involved in this ordinance are under leases with terms and conditions that are more beneficial to them than the rent stabilization ordinance that is on the table tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Spencer Ritchie, followed by Jared Gonzalez.
Welcome, Spencer.
Hello. Hello again. We meet for the third time tonight. Okay. Okay, so third and probably final time. I am Spencer Ritchie, and I am speaking here in favor of the the exact term for the ordinance is the mobile park land rent stabilization, that ordinance. Or the RSO, the rent stabilization ordinance for short. Because again, basically what I think I said last time when I spoke and wrote here about this RSO, these people who are currently living in Camarillo's mobile home parks, the mobile home parks have been basically the last refuge from gentrification and spiraling prices here in Camarillo. And, these families and people living in these mobile home parks here, these Camarillians, they have like clawed their way into, in a lot of their cases, property through the home itself and like other stuff to, be able to live and stay in Camarillo as working class and lower income people. And that's not only is it obviously the humane thing to do to implement, at minimum a rent stabilization ordinance in order to not, price these people out of the one place that they've been able to attain living in Camarillo, but also Camarillo its core, from what I've I'm a local history buff, and from what I've picked up, Camarillo's core has, contrary to, a lot of official historical accounts saying that, the large landowner families like the Camarillos were like the historical core of Camarillo. No, it's the working people, the regular working people that, have, way outnumbered the people that are commonly cited as, Camarillo's historical core. And yeah, they're the way more the heart and soul of the city than a lot of people are willing to, speaking through official channels are willing to admit. And so I demand you pass this RSO to preserve that, to preserve our city's welfare. Thank you. Night.
Thank you.
Jared Gonzalez, followed by Maria Ramirez.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Jared Gonzalez, and I'm with the Western Manufactured Housing Communities Association, or WMA for short. We represent mobile home park owners throughout California. Although WMA opposes rent control ordinance, we've heard the council's direction, and it seems that this rent control is coming. But like a doctor who diagnoses a patient and then writes a prescription, the diagnosis matters less, and getting the dosage right is what matters. A prescription that's too restrictive doesn't heal the patient. It creates new problems. Tonight, we're asking the council to ensure the dosage is calibrated to the real-world conditions these park owners face. The current ordinance draft sets a floor at 2% and a ceiling at 6% for annual rent increases. We understand the intent, but the formula is missing a critical variable, the actual cost. CPI is a useful benchmark, but it was never designed to capture the specific costs pressuring mobile home park operators. Insurance premiums have surged, utility costs have climbed, and labor and maintenance costs have risen sharply. CPI doesn't see any of that. It measures what a consumer pays at the grocery store, at the gas pump, not what it costs to run, insure, maintain a mobile home park community. So we're asking the council to amend the ordinance to allow annual increases that include a 3% floor and an 8% ceiling. There is a second provision we urge council to include: full vacancy decontrol, the ability to reset rent to market rate when a mobile home park is sold and a new resident moves in. The best way to understand why this matters, just imagine a river with a dam. The dam is rent control. It holds back the flow. Over the years, the water level behind the dam rises higher and higher as costs accumulate and market rents move upward. If the dam has no spillway, pressure builds until the structure is at risk. Vacancy decontrol is that spillway. It allows a controlled natural release at a specific predictable moment when a home is voluntarily sold. The current tenant chooses to sell. The new buyer who knows the rent before signing enters voluntarily, eyes wide open. This is not a hardship for anyone. Without vacancy decontrol, rent control becomes a permanent ceiling with no release valve. We've heard the council's direction at the last meeting. We're here to ask that you get the dosage right, please. Camarillo park owners have been good stewards of these communities. They're only asking for what is fair, functional, and financially grounded in reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Maria Ramirez, followed by Ariel Bedell.
Maria?
Ariel Bedell.
Thank you, Mayor Tennyson, council members.
My name is Ariel Bedell, and I'm an attorney that represents park owners. I speak today on behalf of Investment Property Group, the owner of 2 of the mobile home parks within the city, with regards to this proposed ordinance. We did send a written letter that requests the city to not move this ordinance forward. The letter also provides specific comments and concerns with this proposed ordinance. The ordinance is simply unnecessary, as each of these 3 rental mobile home parks tend to do annual increases that really mirror CPI. For the 2 IPG parks, as you heard tonight, there are long-term leases that are in place today. They provide clarity and consistency for these residents. This ordinance would eliminate that clarity and consistency in those long-term leases. Additionally, the park owners have provided red lines and comments to the city regarding the proposed ordinance, most of which were dismissed in full without any further input or meeting with the park owners. Many of the comments provided by the park owners come from their experience in jurisdictions across the state that have local rent control ordinances. All but one comment regarding the annual increases, the one-time catch-up provision, were dismissed in full. Additionally, the park owners did provide an alternative, less restrictive, less onerous by the city's standpoint, option of a memorandum of understanding, also an option that was dismissed. A rent control ordinance, especially when it arbitrarily caps increases on turnover sales, when really the market can handle that as well, and an ordinance which does not allow for reasonable pass-through of expenses without the requirement of an extensive application process, will result in park owners having to file for petitions for an NOI increase, net operating increase over time. This will increase both the city's costs and your involvement in this process moving forward. The owners of these parks are familiar with the NOI application process and that are done across the state and have experience in successfully filing those applications. The proposed ordinance seeks to append and interfere with the long-standing, long-term leases that are in place and the existing landlord-tenant relationship. The proposed ordinance, in many respects, is put forward based on incorrect information, such as resale values of the mobile homes in these parks. Again, we ask that the city not adopt this ordinance, or if you are going to push it forward, go back to the table, get input from the park owners to understand some of the better corrections that can be made. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mike Cirillo, followed by Jordan Blake.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Mike Cirillo. I'm the president of Star Management, the managing agent for Casa del Norte, the 3rd mobile home park in the city, is investor-owned. We would urge the council to not move forward with this ordinance this evening. As previously mentioned, we feel that there are some issues that are still unresolved and need more attention to be fair to both sides. To point out just an error in the staff report that makes me question the data gathering process. The staff report from March 25th quoted Casa del Norte's resale rents at $1,500. Our resale rents range from $1,183 to $1,361, depending on the space size, and we have 3 categories. So that's a blatant error that is, makes me question the data gathering in general. We would, if the council decides to move forward on this, we would urge that the cap on the CPI increases be increased to 8% at least. 6% is just not enough. With regard to the vacancy decontrol issue, once again, 8% is just not enough. For sustainability, we advocate that we have full vacancy decontrol. In the immediate case of Casa del Norte, we have homes have sold the past 24 months, $144,000 average. We've got 4 homes listed for sale right now, $180,000, $206,000, $279,000, and $310,000, with a $243,000 average. We have healthy sales in the park, and our resale rents are not impacting anything or impacting the sales. We would urge that you adopt full vacancy decontrol. Additionally, the maintenance of net operating income increase provision, or the fair rent approach, the fair return approach, is cumbersome, expensive, time-consuming, and overburdensome for everybody involved. We would urge the council to consider a simpler process that is available in some of the other ordinances throughout the state, like Goleta, Chula Vista, Santa Barbara, where you consider a line item pass-through to cover verified expense increases in things like property taxes, insurance, government assessments, et cetera, that will be an easier process to pass through, and that would show a line item.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Jordan Blake, followed by Craig Walker.
Oh, hi, good evening.
Hi,
Thank you
welcome.
very much for taking the time to do all the, research and to, bring such attention to this matter. One thing I will say is that the last person that spoke, the property manager of Star Management, where he said the space rents, I actually called myself and I was told the space rent was $1,200 for a single wide and $1,500 for a double wide. So I don't know, I know he's the manager, but that's what, they're telling people if they want to purchase in their park. As far as what IPG, it seems like there's many people that are speaking for them. I have looked at many of the leases, and they're way above the CPI, so I don't know what they mean that this ordinance will be worse than what they already have. That's completely untrue. Clearly, that I would say IPG's properties are the highest in Camarillo, Lamplighter and Camarillo Mobile Estates. And, we need to protect the senior community that prides itself on looking after the elderly and the seniors. And one item that was brought up tonight was the senior homelessness issue. If this rent control and vacancy rate ordinance is not passed, that will most definitely increase the homelessness problem. And the senior community is greatly affected by not having a rent control ordinance and vacancy rate in Camarillo's mobile home parks. The rents are like the highest, as you know, they're higher than Los Angeles, Thousand Oaks, Oxnard. I mean, you can go on and on. What senior can afford on a fixed income, $2,060 a month at Camarillo Mobile Estates, or Lamplighter is $2,075. Properties just don't sell. They're just, the thing is that we pay, the landowners gain the equity by the space rent being paid by the homeowner, but the homeowner loses equity without a vacancy rate. And when the space rent is increased, it dramatically affects the sales. I mean, you can see it in the comps. And, new buyers cannot just afford the rents, especially being on a fixed or, income or retired. So please consider a lower vacancy rate, lower than Thousand Oaks in Los Angeles City, because Camarillo Mobile Home Park rents are already double the rents in Thousand Oaks and Los Angeles City. A low vacancy rate can preserve a homeowner's equity. And just to say that, mobile homes aren't mobile. Before 1976, which most of these parks are older, it's against the law to move them. It's just cost prohibitive. It's not done. You can't insure them when they're moved from the original site. So, please pass this ordinance tonight, so more people will not be homeless. This has been stressing the senior community out, and we really hope that you pass this ordinance.
Thank you.
Craig Walker, followed by Diana Bradley.
Welcome, sir. Can you reach that lower mic? It'll bend towards you a little bit. We can bring you a mic. Hold on,
I
just.
think I got it.
You got it? Yeah, if you get close to the shorter one, we heard you.
Okay, Craig Walker here, and I'm a resident of the Camarillo Mobile Estates. I'm concerned as a Vietnam veteran and a retiree on a fixed income of any rent increase that might come my way. I was kind of amused by the analogy of the reservoir, and it seems like at one point the reservoir was filling and they dug diversion tunnels to give every resident a bath by charging them extras for the services that are supposed to be rendered. So that is one concern. The other is the treatment of veterans. I've been disabled for about 15 years and I'm not able to walk. So I park this scooter, which is the only transportation I have of getting around Camarillo, by my walkway. And my ability to move is so bad that I need a second four-wheel mobility scooter, mobility walker, to get from the bottom of my steps to a car. Now, those were parked off the walkway on a brick area that I had put in for the purpose of these devices. I got a note recently saying that my barbecue in the front yard had to go. And of course, I didn't have a barbecue in the front yard. I had scooters. And when I talked to the manager about the fact that we were talking about scooters, which were a necessity, she said, well, they have to go too. Well, without these, I'm really in a jam. So considering veterans' needs, when you make consideration about raising property rents, would be greatly appreciated. And again, I am with the other people who are on fixed incomes and struggling to make their rents. My wife died 6 months ago, and I'm a single, where we had two incomes, I have one income to support myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Diana Bradley, followed by Edward Blumenstock.
Welcome, ma'am.
Hello again, Mayor and council members. I'm here today to see the Camarillo Mobile Home Rent Stabilization Ordinance finally passed. The red line changes that you made to the draft ordinance, especially increasing the vacancy control percentage from 6% to 8%, will hopefully be enough to satisfy you that the landowners will be getting the income they want. I'm disappointed that you put the income of the landowners over the safe harbor and livelihood of seniors and low-income tenants. However, it is what it is. The remaining particulars of this ordinance will definitely help the mobile home owners. As a note, the Ventura County parks limit vacancy increases to 15% once every 4 years, which, if you know math, equals less than 4% per year. And Ventura City Parks do not allow any increase to a new tenant. We're asking you to pass this ordinance. Controlling vacancy increases was a priority for the mobile home owners. Homeowners need monthly rent stabilization as well to protect our seniors living on fixed income. We as mobile homeowners and tenants respectfully ask the City Council to finally pass this rent stabilization ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Edward Blumenstock, followed by Lynn Coram.
Hello, I'm
Welcome,
Ben
sir.
Blumenstock. I've addressed this body before, and I'm pleased to do it again. Thank you for taking up this ordinance. It shows that you care about the people in the city. I'm not going to repeat what's been said. A big dittos to everybody who talked about retired people with fixed incomes at looking at the loss of their home. I noticed that IPC is fighting this, and it interested me to look it up. And IPC is headquartered in Utah, so the money that we pay goes out of state. And for them to continue to raise our rents is good business for them, doesn't do much for us. So I'd like to close with asking everybody who's here in favor of the rent stabilization order.
Sir, we don't do that. You have to address the council, not the audience. So don't ask for audience participation. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm in favor of it.
I know you are. Thank you.
Lynn Corum, followed by Sunny Bignami.
Use either mic, ma'am. They're both working.
Pardon?
I said you can use either microphone.
This is just fine, thanks.
Okay, welcome.
Good evening, council members. My name is Lynn Corum, and I live at Casa del Norte. I'm here to give you a perspective of my personal experience. Our space rents will increase July 1 by 4.2%, and that means my monthly bill will be $1,337. Or in essence, it's $53.88 more than I have been paying monthly. And that $54 is essentially a healthy grocery bill. And I also want to point out that the management company for Casa del Norte was able to, so Southern California Gas took over the billing for our gas bills, and that frees up Star Management's efforts at billing us. They don't have to bill us for gas, and that's, I think, a staff savings. But I don't think that they reflected that in our rent increases. Anyway, thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sunny Bignami, followed by Blanca O.
Hi, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. So I'm here today for the people. You know, my boss didn't send me. I'm not, an employee of a landlord or their attorney. I'm here for the people. We have 55 and up citizens that are just trying to live. Camarillo Mobile Estates, for example, they want to charge over $2,000, regardless of the lot size, regardless of the home, whether it's a 1-bed, 1-bath, 3-bed, 2-bath. They want to charge over $2,000 a month for people that, as others have mentioned, are on fixed income, Social Security. To them, $50 makes a difference. You just heard it from the people yourself. I'm not here for profit. I'm here for the people, because people just want to live. There are people that have dreams of becoming homeowners, and they don't even qualify with the park. So I don't want to sound like a broken record, but there's a lot of power here in this room, and I ask you, please just advocate for the people. Give people a chance just to live a good quality life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Blanca O, followed by Devo Brown.
Welcome.
Hello, good evening. I submitted a public comment already, and I was just going to attend, but last minute my daughter joined, and I'm glad she's here to witness our community come together. And as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, what a great opportunity to have another lesson about empathy. I personally am not a resident of a mobile home, but I am a Camarillo resident. And when I hear their stories, my reaction is empathy. And I would hope that each and every one of you also can deeply empathize with your residents here, your constituents, concerned about their housing. I also attended the last meeting, and I found it ironic. That meeting began with a presentation from 211, and they provided you guys statistics and data about who in Camarillo reaches out to 211 for support, and they shared with all of us that the number one 211 call is housing, and members of this community experiencing a housing crisis. And I found it so stark that that presentation was followed by your community members then also sharing with you directly their experience and their fears of also their housing. I do want to just close with this. I worked a call center for almost 2 decades, and what people will share with you over the phone is things that they would never say to you to your face. And having had worked with the telecommunication companies, those of the community who had landlines still, were often elderly customers. And when they would call in, they would be in literal tears with me, crying that they can't afford their bill, and share with me stories that still carry with me today, and stories of not being able to buy their food and are eating their cat food, for example, to get by. And so when a woman up here shared that $54 is the difference between a healthy meal, that should not be taken lightly. And when you have veterans coming up here sharing their stories, and that should not be taken lightly. And so please pass this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Devo Brown, followed by David Gilbertson.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. You know, I had a bunch of stuff that I was going to say, but I'm just probably not going to say it. I think it was all said so well. So at the suggestion of our fine mayor, ditto a lot. Okay, so we don't think it's a bad thing for property owners to come in here and, to our city, I mean, and exact profit for owning a piece of property. That's how money's made in this country. A lot of other different ways too. So we think it's okay. And I've explained to many of my friends who are constituents and members of the newly formed Camarillo Homeowners Alliance for Municipal Progress, CHAMP. We've banded together and created an organization because we think that there's a little bit of strength in numbers. And but I have told them, you know, we're going to pay more for rent every year. There's inflation. Everything's going up. We have to keep paying more for everything. And one of the letters I wrote was, you know, cars used to be $3,000 when we were younger, and now they're $30,000 and more. That's because of inflation. We're going to have to pay more. And so we do. But how much more is a big difference. And whether it's making profit or profiteering, that's a term that needs to be defined perhaps just a little bit. But I would suggest to you that there are certainly two different views of that word profiteering right now in this room. But one thing I do, one concern that I heard from the council within the last couple of meetings was making this a defendable ordinance, making this ordinance defendable. And I agree, I concur that that's a really, really strong principle that we should hold up to. That's a concern that we should definitely address. I did a little research and I found that that mobile homeowners investment it's got a little precedence. As a matter of fact, mobile homeowners investment is a recognized and legitimate purpose of an ordinance. In Carson Mobile Home Park Owners Association versus City of Carson, 1983, the California Supreme Court noted that the purchase of a mobile home involves a substantial investment and its relocation is expensive and difficult, and also upheld Carson's ordinance because the homeowner's equity and stability was considered in the ordinance. So we're not putting ourselves up with some added exposure because you're taking care of us. okay, you're actually reinforcing the stability of the ordinance by taking care of us. Because once again, like I said last time, what's fair is fair. And there's two sides to this. And so let's be fair to both sides if we can. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you.
The last speaker is David Gilbertson.
And prior to Mr. Gilbertson, if anybody else wishes to speak, please see the city clerk staff out in the lobby and get your speaker card in before Mr. Gilbertson's finished. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Thank you, though, for your service, your public service, and I thank the staff for theirs. And I appreciate that you're providing this comment time to hear from residents and business owners. I appreciate the council's attention to affordable housing. I really, though, value and can look at the staff report as being unbiased. And I thank Director Calvert and the community development staff for their detailed report to the council as well as the public. There are some key points that struck me. Camarillo Mobile Home Park land rents are generally higher than parks in surrounding communities with rent stabilization ordinances. Camarillo Mobile Home Estates and Lamplighter have the highest average land rents for the parks analyzed. Lamplighter's my neighbor. The data shows Camarillo rental mobile home parks have higher rents than other parks countywide. Jurisdictions in the county with RSOs have on average lower move-in and in-place rents than jurisdictions without ordinances. You've heard from some of your mobile home renters. Many mobile home residents who are senior citizens, obviously, they're usually living on fixed incomes. As a senior, I too experienced the financial challenges of continually raising costs and the experience of the scarcity of mobile home or any home affordable housing here in Camarillo. That is an issue I know you're paying attention to. Seniors living on fixed incomes, as well as low-income residents, are being financially crushed under the weight of our current economy. This ordinance is one small measure of relief. And to my fellow veteran, I too am a Vietnam veteran, and I appreciate Ventura County's attention to veteran services. I hope the council will do so as well. In addition, the ordinance supports the City Council's strategic plan, goal, and objective 2.3, community enrichment. I urge council members to support the ordinance and vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, we have one more speaker, Gloria Provert.
All right, for the rest of you, it's going, gone after this speaker. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. First off, they don't represent 500 people because they didn't talk.
Pull the mic down a little bit if you would for some of us. Thank you.
They haven't really talked to the leaseholders who are going to be screwed by this ordinance because you will be higher than what we are paying now. And yes, I am a senior citizen on a limited income who lost my husband. Therefore, I am one income and working two jobs. But still, it is cheaper than anywhere else I can go. And it will hurt the leaseholders if you pass this.
Thank you. Madam Clerk? Is that it?
That is it.
Thank you. We will move on to council discussion, and I'm going to open it up to the two members of the ad hoc committee first and allow them to go first. Councilmember Santangelo.
Thank you. I wasn't prepared to go first. I'm going to keep my thoughts short and to the point. From the onset of this discussion, when it came to us as a council and in our discussions on the committee, I've been concerned with the loss of equity. And I realize that this is it's a unique living situation, that you own your home, but you still play lease. And so I understand that how that loss of equity is so important. Controlling rent increases is one way we prevent that loss of equity. The other way is through vacancy control. I'm concerned that when a homeowner decides to sell their home, that equity matters, and that's when that equity matters the most. In fact, it may be the most important time. Lack of vacancy control may undermine the intent of rent stabilization. And so for those reasons, Dr. Martinez-Bravo and I discussed it, and we really felt that we should compromise to get this across the finish line. And so we went from the 6% up to 8%, and that's how the ordinance is written now. And so that's where I stand.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Councilmember Santangelo. So, when I was a little girl, I'll start with a story. I feel like Father Patrick at our mass, but I'll start with a story. When I was a little girl, I was a daughter of a farm worker. And so we had very limited access to luxury or even to essential items. I do remember there were times where we had one pair of shoes, and they were your school shoes, and they were your Sunday shoes for church, and they were your shoes. And when my shoes would get holes in them, I remember getting my foot and putting it on a cardboard and tracing it and trying to use that to slip it into my shoes so that my shoes can last longer. Along the way, as I went on through school, and I did the best that I could. I did well in school, and there were people that invested in me. And because of that, I was able to go on to college, to go on to UC Irvine and graduate from college and then graduate school after that. And my husband had a very similar upbringing. And while both him and I and our family, we are in a very different financial class now, the reality is that I will never forget where I came from. And I wanted to thank every single one of you who shared your opinions, who shared your lived experiences. It can feel very vulnerable and even at times shameful to experience poverty, whether it's at the level of extreme poverty or even just struggling, as many people are right now, especially many who are on fixed incomes right here in this room. And so I thank you for your patience. Part of being on this council is being able to work with others, regardless of our political affiliations. And it is to center the well-being of our community and of our residents. And so to the medicine and the prescription analogy that I heard, and as someone who is married now to a Kaiser physician, one thing that I often hear is that prevention is actually the best medicine. And so in my view, passing this RSO serves as a preventive measure to protect the well-being of our residents. I'd like to just highlight the importance of adopting this mobile home rent stabilization ordinance, building on the work that was completed by our ad hoc committee and with the help of our extraordinary staff. I know you staff worked above and beyond these last couple of months to get it right. I believe that our recommendation is thoughtful and incorporated the input from the last meeting. I'm just one of 5, And so I want to be mindful that the reality is, in order to get this passed, we do need the majority. The new ordinance, as mentioned, does propose a cap of up to 8% on rent increases upon the re-rental of an existing mobile home. And as mentioned, this was modeled after the Thousand Oaks one, but deliberately we wanted for it to be lower than the 10% cap, because the reality is that our residents in Camarillo are facing a very different reality, given that, quite frankly, we are the outliers in the county of Ventura. And so for that piece, I believe that vacancy control for re-rentals of existing mobile homes is critical, and it is especially something that I feel very strongly about. At the same time, the committee worked to ensure fairness for park owners. Along the process, I always felt that we were fair in listening to both sides, bringing both groups in and listening to what they had to say. And so we did find it reasonable that when a new mobile home is brought into a park, that space rent can be set at a market rate. So I think that reflects a true change in the tenancy and maintains incentives and reinvestment for the park owners as well. We also included the important exemption with when it's transferred within the family, the rental recap would not apply. And then additionally, we refined the language around the anniversary date to better reflect the council's direction as well. The policy, I believe, is not about limiting fair returns, but it's about preventing excessive spikes that can displace long-term residents, many of whom are seniors or are on fixed incomes, as what was stated here. Mobile home residents, as many you know, you often just can't easily relocate, making them especially vulnerable to these sudden increases. One thing that was mentioned at the last meeting was how often we talked about a fair rate of return in our agenda report. And so we often talk about ensuring a fair rate of return for park owners, which this ordinance does provide. But data also shows that many of our residents who have invested their savings and built investments in their home are now seeing that investment eroded, and their livelihoods are strained by these high rents. So they too deserve a fair outcome. I do believe it is our responsibility to protect the well-being of our community members. And at the end of the day, our motto right behind us states, "Las personas son la ciudad," and the people are the city. So when appropriate, I would feel confident in moving the recommendations stated on the staff report, and I'd be happy to move forward with a proposed mobile home ordinance, which is, again, measured, data-informed, and it truly reflects more of our values and the needs of our Camarillo residents.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Kildee.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a bunch of comments to read, but I'm not going to read them. But I am going to say that all my years that I've been up here, I've tried, haven't always succeeded, but I've always tried to be reasonable. And in this particular case, it's being reasonable to park owners, and it's being reasonable to renters. And the last meeting, I had several questions to ask, and there's a reason for that, and that is because we had our subcommittee. We're not allowed to really talk to our subcommittee. We do our business in public up here. So all three of us, I can't speak for anybody else myself, did not have an opportunity to ask the questions that I felt needed to be asked. It's a little bit messy when we do that, but hopefully, I always say it's kind of like making sausage, a little message, but the end result hopefully tastes pretty good. So what I am going to say is reasonable. I think using the CPI of 2 to 6% is reasonable. I think following the TO ordinance that we attempted to do is reasonable. I think looking out for the property owner's rate of return and what that should be is reasonable. I think looking out for the renters and trying to give them something that they may be able to help them is a reasonable request here. If you look at rents, we all know that it's very, very challenging with the rents. I'm a renter too. I rent commercial space. We've rented commercial space for several decades. So I know a little bit about that. Fortunately, I do own my house. I don't have to rent. I'm very fortunate with that, but I do rent my business. I'm very cognizant of that. I think that our subcommittee has done a very good job, and our staff has done a very good job in a very touchy subject here, trying to be fair to everybody. I do think it's also important that our city attorney made an opportunity in this ordinance, if it does pass, that we can, and future councils will be able to make minor modifications to this as seen. So here we are. And these red line versions, I don't know if anybody else has been able to see them, but it touched all the bases that I was concerned about. And what's been said before, I can support it as submitted.
Mr. Tremblay.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So first of all, thank you to all of the speakers. Thank you to everyone who has been here and has worked through this process. I really want to compliment the ad hoc committee and city staff for all of your efforts on revisions to the draft ordinance following the March 26th council meeting. In my view, a mobile home rent stabilization ordinance is appropriate to protect mobile homeowners in contrast with the MOU suggested by park owners. I think an RSO is appropriate in our circumstances. Susan and Martita and staff, I think you have threaded the needle on this. To meet the concerns expressed on March 26th, I think you've done an excellent job. So the result, in my view, is very similar to Councilmember Kildee's. In fact, it's the same. I think it's a compromise RSO approach, which I think fairly balances the interests of mobile homeowners and park owners, and I can support its adoption. And thank you to the ad hoc committee.
Thank you, Mr. Tremblay. I think that the work that the Vice Mayor and Councilmember Santangelo, along with city staff, did was remarkable. I thought so at our last meeting, and as I explained to the people in attendance, I know you hope for a resolution that evening. And as Mr. Kildee likes to always bring up, making sausage, and that's what local governments like sometimes. So we had to go back and make the casing a little stronger. I think the Vice Mayor said that she and Councilmember Santangelo thought that the 8% was a good compromise, and that's the model of local government. Because if you remember in March, there were a couple saying 10%, the original ordinance was 6. I think meeting in the middle is absolutely perfect. As one of my former favorite presidents always said, there is no such thing as a 100% perfect ordinance. If you get 80% or 70% of what you're hoping for, you call that a success. So I think tonight's success, when the vote occurs, will be nobody's 100% happy, but everybody's a little bit happy. And that's what I'm hoping for. So now, Vice Mayor, I know you wanted to make a motion.
I am happy to make a motion to pass staff's recommendations 1, 2, and 3.
And I think Councilmember Santangelo wants to say something.
I would like
I
to
would just
second.
clarify that no motion on 3. It's just items 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Correct.
Yes.
I will second 1 and 2.
So, Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Santangelo,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Martinez Bravo,
Yes.
Councilmember Kilby,
Yes.
Councilmember Tremblay,
Yes.
Mayor Tennyson.
Yes.
That passes unanimously.
We don't do that. You can do it out there. With that, Madam Speaker, did we have any other speaker cards from the earlier session?
No, sir.
Okay. Madam City Attorney, will you provide us with a closed session report?
Yes, we did conduct closed session on 4 items earlier today, but there was no reportable
We're still
action
meeting,
taken.
folks.
No
We are
reportable.
adjourned.